Hey guys, welcome to Dental Talks, episode 4. So today's topic is supposed to be glycolysis, but we're splitting it into two parts. The first part would be about understanding carbohydrates, and the second part will be about understanding glycolysis based on the reactions that happen. So basically, carbohydrates are the major source of energy for the living cells. The monosaccharide glucose is the central molecule of carbohydrate metabolism, since all the major pathways of carbohydrate metabolism are connected with glucose, right? So glucose is basically a source of energy. It is synthesized even by non-carbohydrate sources of energy. So your fats, your proteins, some parts of your fiber, everything gets converted to glucose, which is basically like the mode of currency that the body sees as energy, correct? Now, there are other monosaccharides that are important. Which are they? Fructose, the fruit sugar, galactose, and even mannose. These are all the other important monosaccharides. Now, speaking about glucose in a broader sense, the fasting blood glucose that is normal in your body is between 60 and 100 milligrams per deciliter. That's about 4.5 to 5.5 millimoles per liter. And it is very efficiently maintained at this level. Now, the liver plays a key role in monitoring and stabilizing the blood glucose levels. Thus, liver may appropriately be considered as the glucostat monitor of your body. Okay. Now, glucose is present. You have consumed glucose. It's converted. Now, how does glucose enter into the cell? Now, the glucose concentration within the cell is quite low compared to what is there in the blood. In humans, it is usually less than 100 milligrams per deciliter, as we just discussed. However, glucose cannot just simply enter the cell because it can't just come through simple diffusion. It requires a specific transport system. Now, these transport systems are of two variants. One is the insulin dependent and one is the insulin independent. Now, the insulin dependent system is seen in the muscle and adipose tissue because their requirement of glucose is much more. And in the insulin independent transport system is seen in hepatocytes, erythrocytes, and even the brain, in which the uptake is not dependent on the hormone insulin, therefore the name. Now basically, glycolysis is derived from the Greek word glycos, which means sweet or sugar, and lysis meaning dissolution. It is a universal pathway in the living cells. Glycolysis is defined as the sequence of reactions converting glucose to pyruvate or lactate based on the mode of glycolysis with the production of ATP. Okay. Now coming to the salient features of glycolysis. The first feature is that glycolysis occurs in all cells of the body, and its other name is the Embden-Meyerhof pathway. Now glycolysis requires certain enzymes which are present in the cytosomal fraction of the cell. Glycolysis can occur in the presence of oxygen, that is aerobic, or in the absence of oxygen, that is anaerobic. The end product of glycolysis produced in the aerobic pathway is pyruvate, so PA. And at the end of the anaerobic pathway, it releases lactate. Okay. Now, at the end of glycolysis, the end products are usually oxidized forms of carbon dioxide and water. Glycolysis is one of the major pathways of ATP synthesis in tissues lacking mitochondria. For example, erythrocytes, your cornea, the lens of your eyes. Now, glycolysis is also very essential in the brain, which is dependent on glucose for energy. The glucose in the brain has to undergo glycolysis before it is oxidized into carbon dioxide and water. Now, the anaerobic form of glycolysis can be summarized with a net reaction. Glucose plus 2 molecules of ADP plus 2 molecules of phosphoglucose isomerase, giving rise to 2 molecules of lactate and 2 molecules of ATP. Now, the reverse of glycolysis, along with the alternate arrangements made at the irreversible steps, which we will discuss in the next video, will result in the synthesis of glucose. This whole process is called gluconeogenesis. So now this was a basic understanding of carbs and salient features of glycolysis. We'll see the reaction in the next video. Thank you. Have a nice day.